Hello YouTube, my name is Jess Dash. I am a foster care survivor and advocate for foster youth and adopted youth all over the country and all over the world. The goal of this video is to talk about the Rachel Dolezal scandal. I guess I'll just go with that one. A lot of my friends have been asking me to share my thoughts in the form of a video on the whole Rachel Dolezal situation, for lack of a better word. I don't know if I have it here. Oh, yep, I think I do. So I want to weigh in with my opinion, not really as a black person, but as a black person who is a member of an interracial family. I'm not sure if you can see that clearly enough, but this book was a gift to me from my adoptive parents, I want to say probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And it sort of highlighted like my first year in my new adoptive family. And from what I've read about Rachel Dolezal, I'm going to start off first by saying I have mixed feelings about this one, okay? I don't believe that anyone has a right to really judge Rachel or her decision to identify as a black woman. It is kind of weird. I mean, I don't know why. I don't get it, I guess. I do, but I don't. So, just a little bit of background. Like I said, I was adopted when I was 18, and ironically, my birth family is actually originally from South Carolina. I believe not too far from where the shooting happened just a few days ago. And so I did think that that was an interesting parallel, that all this stuff seems to be sort of coming out at the same time. And I get that Rachel is from like Washington State or something, probably like the whitest place in the United States, but whatevs. Anyway, Rachel Dolezal. Why do I think we have no business judging her, and why am I confused about what she did? I would say nobody has any business judging her, because everyone at the end of the day, no matter who they are, has a right to construct an identity which allows them to live most comfortably in this world. And for me, as a human being, and as a member of both the black and white community, whether I like it or not, I feel like it'd be sort of hypocritical for me to point the finger at Rachel and say she's not black enough. I don't think that that's my place. I do think that it is sort of a relief, and something I guess I didn't really see coming, to see this woman talk about, to walk in her truth. Like, how can you not respect that? I think anybody who is outraged by the whole thing really probably needs a reality check. So how did my experience of being adopted shape this judgment? First, like I said, my birth family has roots in the very deep South, at a time when something like this, it would not have been acceptable. And I want to sort of piggyback on that with a story. I remember once when I was in, I want to say like middle school, probably 6th or 7th grade, I had a friend who was white, and for most of you, for people who don't know, Saratoga Springs is, it's diverse, but it's a mostly upper middle class, very up-and-coming neighborhood. So a lot of the ties to the African American community have I think, sort of dwindled over the last 10 or 15 years. I know even since I've been there, you know, it was like not, it was the kind of place where I wouldn't say you didn't see the Confederate flag flying everywhere, but all the black kids definitely sat together at the lunch table. It was that kind of thing. And so growing up in a very white town and living with a black family, a very black family, early on I felt like my grandma thought that she had the responsibility to tell me that white people are not my friends. And anyone who knows me for more than 5 minutes knows that I am sort of a troublemaker, in the sense that when I'm passionate about something or when I really care about something, you telling me I'm not going to do that only makes me want to do it more. So I brought my friend home from school this particular day, and my grandmother was very mad that I did not have any black friends. And looking back, you know, they say hindsight's always 20/20. Looking back, I sort of realized that maybe perhaps I had felt more comfortable with white people because from everything I had known, you know, from the most crucial moments of my life, I had spent in the care of white people. At 2 months old in my first foster home, I was placed with white parents. And even as I look back over my 18 years in foster care, I can count on one hand how many of those over 30 different placements were people that looked like me. And I can tell you also that as a young adult, as a black woman, as a young woman, in today's America, there were many times, and will probably still be in the future, many more times when I really had to question what it meant to be black in America. And from my experience with black people, what I was conditioned to sort of believe over time was that you stick to your tribe. You stick to your people. Brown people are good, white people are bad. And that sort of directly conflicted with my experience, because my experience was that the people who look like me are the ones who hurt me. And as a foster child, I had always been protected by white families in the foster system. So years later, as an adult, for me to arrive at a place of more peace in terms of what it means to be, first of all, just a person in today's world, but even more down to the nitty-gritty, how my race and even sometimes my gender can affect my experience. And as I went on, I remember at around probably the age of 13, a caseworker came to me in one of my foster homes, and she told me, sort of like she was reading the news, like, oh, by the way, your mom gave you up for adoption, so you have to sort of pick out what kind of family you want. And I remember very clearly telling my caseworker at that point, I want a white family, because I knew that if I had a white family, first of all, if I was adopted, that's where most kids, when you tell them in foster care, okay, your parents don't want you anymore, you have two choices. You can either choose to wait it out until 18, which is when you age out and you have no parents to fall back on, so the world is pretty much yours to figure out by yourself. Or B, you can go through all this, like this whole process, and they make a profile for you, and they'll try to find an adoptive family. And I wanted an adoptive family because I knew then, even at 13, if I ever had any chance of making it out of the system, it would have to be with a family at the very least. And if I wanted to really increase my odds of success, as crass and as harsh and as much crap as I'm probably going to get for this, I knew that a white family would be the difference between me succeeding and me not succeeding. So when you sort of put that in the lens of Rachel Dolezal and you say, how could someone choose to be a part of an identity that's so literally polar opposite of their own, especially when, you know, she was coming from sort of the privileged class to like the oppressed group, it can make you sort of scratch your head. And I don't really have any answers because I'm not Rachel Dolezal. What I can comment on is the power of walking in your truth, and the fact that identity, I believe, racial identity, is just as fluid as gender identity. It all comes down to the way that you see the world and the way that you walk in your truth. And quite honestly, from the news reports I've been reading from everywhere, it seems like Rachel Dolezal probably had her shit together more than the average black person in terms of attending a black college and advocating for change for black people. She really sort of drove the point home better than I can even say that I have as a black American. So I'm not going to hate on her for that. And if you're confused about why she would change, you know, why she would want to be black, or why, you know, or the concept of a fluid racial identity, I'm here to tell you that that happens every day. And that if we ever, I don't believe, you know, this is speaking now from the black side of my experience as a black person, I would be very careful about the black community reacting too harshly or even sort of pushing Rachel Dolezal out or rejecting her, because I don't think you can have your cake and eat it too. If you want to live in a society where people are more accepting of black culture and of who we are, we have to be open to exactly this sort of thing. Someone who is willing to walk. I mean, that's the essence of the whole thing, right? I mean, you hear it from, and I can say this personally, there were times that I would talk to my adoptive parents about being harassed in a store or having a racist experience, and they would say to me time and time again, that's really awful, but we don't understand because we're white. That's never been our experience. So I feel like we as a black community should be sort of encouraged by the fact that someone finally, whether she liked it or not, I mean, granted, her parents outed her, but this is a huge opportunity for black people to really embrace her with open arms and respect the fact that she dared to walk in our truth for a minute. That's what we've been asking for this whole time. And maybe it didn't come in the package that we wanted it to, but you can't really sneeze at the fact that now we can say somebody dared to walk that path. And maybe there's some good that can come of that. I think hopefully it's sort of wishful thinking that the mainstream media would really sort of open this up to a broader discussion about race. I think the general attitude has been, oh, look at her, she's a crazy white girl who wants to be black. And I think by doing that and by dismissing the general discussion and the opportunity for a much more productive conversation about race and race identity and what it means to be black, we are only doing ourselves a disservice.